When Christine Brown opened up about her marriage to Cody, it was nothing short of heartbreaking. For years, we've seen her struggle, always trying to keep a smile on her face and maintain a sense of family unity despite everything crumbling behind closed doors. But in season 19's Tell All Part 3, Christine revealed the devastating truth that so many of us had suspected. There was no intimacy left in her marriage. Not just physical intimacy, but emotional and even financial intimacy were all but dead. Can you even imagine the toll that must take on someone? The emotional exhaustion, the feeling of being invisible, the constant weight of living a life where you're not truly seen or loved. For Christine, that was her reality for so many years. She said it herself. At first, when she and Cody started out, things were great. They had fun, they shared physical and emotional closeness, and their connection was deep. But when Robin came into the picture, everything started to shift, and not in a good way. Christine even admitted that by the time Robin entered the family, it wasn't just about a lack of physical intimacy. Their bond had completely disintegrated. She felt like a shadow in her own marriage. And the worst part? Cody wasn't even acknowledging it. He was emotionally absent, and she was left to pick up the pieces alone. Christine revealed a gut wrenching detail. Their intimacy was reduced to about 5 times a year. That's right, 5 times in 12 months. It wasn't just the frequency that was troubling, it was the complete lack of connection behind those moments. Christine described those rare encounters as empty, almost mechanical. It wasn't love, it wasn't even affection. It was like going through the motions, and that kind of emotional neglect is so damaging to anyone's self esteem and sense of worth. It's clear that for Christine, the more Cody withdrew, the more isolated and invisible she became. And for a woman who has always been so kind and loving, that must have been absolutely crushing. But what makes this confession so powerful is the timing. Christine is no longer the woman we saw years ago, desperately trying to hold everything together. She's now in a relationship with David, a man who genuinely sees her, values her, and loves her in the ways Cody never could. The difference between her marriage to Cody and her relationship with David is night and day. With David, Christine has found the emotional connection she was deprived of for so long. Their relationship is about mutual respect, affection, and the kind of intimacy that's been absent from her life for far too long. The joy she exudes now is contagious, and it's clear that she is thriving in ways we've never seen before. Christine's decision to finally speak out about the lack of intimacy in her marriage to Cody is a turning point in the show. For years, she was silenced, either by Cody's controlling behavior or by the unspoken rules of polygamy that kept things hidden. But now, in this tell all, Christine is taking back her narrative. She's no longer the passive wife. She's reclaiming her voice and demanding the recognition she deserves. This moment is huge, not just for her, but for the entire show, because it highlights the emotional toll that years of neglect can have on someone, and how finding the courage to speak up can be a path to healing. Christine's confession is more than just a moment of truth, it's a symbol of empowerment. She's no longer willing to hide behind the facade of a happy family. She's done pretending everything is fine when it's not. And that's why her confession matters so much. It's a rallying cry for women everywhere who have been silenced, ignored, or dismissed in their relationships. Christine is showing us all that it's okay to speak your truth, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, because it's the only way to truly move forward. If there's one thing that's been a constant source of tension in the Brown family, it's money. And while many of us tend to think of Cody as the patriarch and the one who holds the purse strings, the truth is far more complicated. In reality, Janelle has always been the financial backbone of the family. She's the one who managed their finances, kept track of the books, made sure the bills were paid, and, most importantly, kept the family afloat in times of financial strain. It's Janelle's practical, no nonsense approach to money that's been essential in managing the chaos that is the Brown family. But instead of being celebrated for her responsibility and dedication, Janelle has become the target of Cody's manipulation. In the latest Tell All episode, Cody shockingly accuses Janelle of having too much control over the family's finances. Let that sink in for a second. Cody, who has never seemed particularly hands on with the finances, is blaming Janelle for not just managing the money, but for doing it too well. How ridiculous is that? This accusation is just the latest in a long line of ways Cody deflects blame and manipulates the narrative to make himself look better. Instead of recognizing Janelle's effort in saving money, tracking expenses, and keeping things running smoothly, he twists it into something negative, painting her as controlling. What's even more frustrating is that Janelle's financial savvy has been a major asset to the family. I mean, let's remember that one of the most memorable moments was when Janelle went on a camping trip with Cody and insisted on bringing blankets instead of sleeping bags to save money. It was a quirky moment, but it also showed just how much Janelle prioritized the financial well being of the family, even if it meant sacrificing comfort. She wasn't just doing this for her own benefit, she was doing it for the entire family's future. Yet instead of being appreciated, Janelle is being accused of something that was never her fault, managing the finances in a way that ensured the family survived. Janelle's approach to money is deeply rooted in responsibility. She's practical, sensible, and focused on securing the financial stability of the family. Her commitment to being financially responsible is one of the reasons why she's always been the reliable one. She's not just trying to save for herself, she's been working to keep the entire family afloat, and it's been a thankless job. Janelle has had to put up with Cody's reckless decisions, his erratic spending habits, and his refusal to acknowledge just how much pressure the family's finances were under. But instead of recognizing her efforts, Cody resorts to attacking her character. His critique of Janelle is rooted in manipulation. He's shifting the blame away from himself and onto her, making her the scapegoat for their financial troubles. It's a classic tactic to deflect from his own failures and maintain control over the narrative. The problem is that Cody's accusations are completely unfair. Janelle was only trying to do what was best for the family, and her actions proved it. But instead of supporting her, Cody attacks her, further alienating her and adding more strain to their already fragile relationship. This kind of behavior, where Cody refuses to take accountability and instead uses manipulation to control the situation, has a profound effect on Janelle. You can see how it's wearing her down. For a woman who has worked tirelessly to keep the family afloat, it must be incredibly hurtful to be treated like the villain. Cody's criticism isn't just about finances. It's a broader attack on her value within the family. He's undermining her contribution in a way that diminishes her worth, and that's the real issue here. Janelle deserves recognition for her hard work, not constant criticism. In the end, it's clear that Cody's refusal to take responsibility for his own role in the family's financial struggles has had a damaging effect on his relationship with Janelle. Instead of supporting her, he's pushing her away, and the damage is becoming more evident with each passing episode. This financial tension is just another example of how manipulation and control have poisoned the family dynamic, and Janelle is rightfully frustrated with being treated unfairly. When you think about the sister wives family, it's clear that the relationships between the wives have always been complicated. But what's even more complex than the love triangle between Cody and his wives is the tension that simmers between them, especially now that the cracks in Cody's control are starting to show. The latest tell all episode really hones in on the emotional rift that has widened between Christine and the other wives, particularly Mary. And to be honest, it's heartbreaking to watch. Let's start with Christine. Over the years, we've seen her struggle within the confines of her marriage to Cody. She's been the one to keep the peace, to play the role of the good wife, even though her own happiness was constantly being sacrificed. But now, Christine has finally found her voice. She's living her best life with David, her new partner, and it's clear that she's glowing. The woman we're seeing today is a far cry from the one who used to tolerate Cody's emotional neglect. Christine is free, and it's something that fans have been rooting for years. But then there's Mary, who seems to be struggling with the idea of Christine moving on. It's almost as if Mary is trying to remind Christine of her past, to drag her back into the world of guilt and obligation that she used to inhabit with Cody. One of the most telling moments in the tell-all is when Mary throws shade at Christine for talking about her ex-husband, Cody, on national television while on a trip with David. She says, "Why is Christine talking to David about her ex on TV?" Now let's take a moment to break that down. Mary is implying that Christine should just move on and stop talking about her past. but it feels like she's projecting her own unresolved feelings onto Christine. It's clear that Mary is still emotionally entangled with Cody, holding on to the hope that somehow things will change. And maybe that's why she feels threatened by Christine's newfound happiness. Now, if we zoom out a bit and look at the relationships between all of the wives and Cody, it's easy to see how manipulation and emotional control have played a massive role in fracturing those bonds. At the beginning of the series, it seemed like there was some form of harmony within the family. The wives would support each other. Cody was the leader, though I use that term loosely, and everything seemed to flow. But over time, as Cody's true nature began to emerge, it became clear that his emotional neglect and manipulative tactics were poisoning every relationship in the family. Christine's relationship with Cody has evolved from one of hope and trust to one of emotional depletion. The intimacy issues we talked about earlier were just the tip of the iceberg. For years, Christine was emotionally dismissed and treated as an afterthought in their marriage, but it wasn't just about intimacy. It was the larger issue of emotional validation. Christine was never given the space to feel heard or valued. And as Cody's focus shifted to Robin, Christine realized she was never going to get the kind of attention or care she needed from him. Mary's relationship with Cody has also seen its fair share of heartbreak. From the catfishing scandal to the ongoing emotional distance, Mary has been stuck in a cycle of trying to win Cody's love and affection, only to be left disappointed. You can see it in her eyes. She's desperate for Cody to finally see her, but Cody seems more interested in keeping her at arm's length. The problem is that Mary keeps going back for more, hoping things will change. But they never do, and it's taken a huge emotional toll on her, leaving her stuck in a limbo of loyalty and unmet needs. Then there's Janelle, whose relationship with Cody has always been more pragmatic than emotional. She's the one who manages the finances, makes practical decisions, and tries to keep the family on track. But even Janelle has felt the sting of Cody's neglect. The emotional toll on her has been heavy, especially when Cody shifted his focus away from her to Robin. Janelle seems resigned to the fact that she and Cody aren't truly connected anymore, but she's not ready to leave the family dynamic behind completely. What we're seeing in this latest tell-all is the aftermath of years of emotional manipulation. Cody's behavior has created deep divides between the wives, and it's heartbreaking to watch these women struggle to find their footing. At the core of it all is Cody's inability to emotionally invest in his wives and his constant need for control. His manipulation tactics, shifting blame, playing favorites, and making each wife feel like they're not enough, have had a long-lasting impact on the family. And that's where the real tragedy lies. These women have given so much of themselves to Cody and to the family, but Cody's manipulation and control have fractured their relationships with one another. Instead of supporting each other, they're left trying to navigate their own emotional wounds while dealing with the fallout from Cody's toxic behavior. The result is a family that's no longer united, but rather a collection of individuals each trying to pick up the pieces of their broken relationships. Christine's new freedom with David is a symbol of hope, but it's also a reminder of the damage that Cody's actions have caused. And Mary's continued emotional attachment to Cody is a painful reflection of the way manipulation has kept her in a perpetual state of waiting for a love that will never come. It's clear that Cody's control has fractured the wives' relationships in ways that will take years to heal, if they ever heal at all. But as painful as this dynamic is to watch, it's also an important reminder of how toxic behavior can ruin relationships and leave lasting scars. If you've been watching Sister Wives for a while now, you know that Cody Brown has never been one to shy away from his opinions or controlling nature. But when it comes to his behavior in the tell-all episodes, things have really taken a turn. Watching him interact with the host Suki during these interviews was honestly eye-opening. If there was ever a moment where Cody's true colors showed through, this was it. First off, let's talk about how Cody tries to shift the narrative throughout the tell-all. When things get a little too heated, or when uncomfortable truths start to surface, Cody isn't the type to take accountability. Instead, he deflects. He does exactly what we expect from him. He manipulates the situation to protect his ego. You can see it in his body language and hear it in his tone. When Suki asks pointed questions about his role in the breakdown of his marriages, Cody doesn't seem to answer directly. Instead, he skirts around the issues or blames the wives for not understanding him, for not getting it. It's almost as if he's trying to rewrite the narrative, positioning himself as the victim and everyone else as the problem. Take, for instance, the way he responded when the issue of intimacy with Christine came up. Instead of acknowledging his emotional and physical neglect, Cody somehow manages to paint himself as the misunderstood partner. His answer was full of deflection. He makes it sound as though he had been working so hard to make the family work, only to be met with rejection from the wives. It's classic Cody, trying to make everyone else the bad guy while he stays safe in his little bubble of self justification. But honestly, fans aren't buying it anymore. Then there's his behavior with Suki herself. From the start, Cody's interactions with the host are less than respectful. At several points during the tell all, Cody comes across as condescending, even dismissive. He talks down to Suki, brushing off her questions or giving her one word answers when the topics become too uncomfortable. It's clear that Cody has no interest in truly engaging in an honest conversation, and Suki becomes a target for his pent up frustration. He's so caught up in trying to control the situation that he forgets the point of these interviews is to get to the truth. The way Cody treats Suki is a reflection of how he views anyone who challenges his authority or calls him out. It's as if he's so fragile that any questioning of his actions feels like an attack on his masculinity or his sense of power. And let me tell you, the fans have not been silent about this. Social media is flooded with criticism of Cody's condescending behavior, especially the way he's treated Suki. People have called him out for being rude and arrogant, and frankly, they've had enough. Fans on Twitter and Reddit have been especially vocal about how Cody refuses to take any responsibility for his actions. They point out how, when the wives open up about their struggles, Cody either minimizes their feelings or shifts the blame back onto them. It's one thing to disagree or defend yourself, but it's another thing entirely to manipulate a narrative in such a public way. Cody's constant attempts to portray himself as the victim are not only transparent, but exhausting to watch. And it's not just the fans who are noticing. The wives themselves are clearly frustrated with his lack of accountability. You can see it in their eyes during the tell alls. Janelle, Christine, and even Mary have all been visibly exhausted with the way Cody manipulates every conversation to suit his narrative. It's as if they've stopped expecting him to own up to anything, and instead they just sit there waiting for him to spin yet another story where he's the martyr. But deep down, they know the truth. Take Janelle, for instance. When Cody blames her for having too much control over the family finances, Janelle doesn't back down. She's heard it all before. She knows Cody's tactic of shifting blame onto others in order to save face. She's not buying it, and the audience can see her frustration clearly. But what's interesting is how Cody tries to manipulate the narrative to suit his ego and make it look like he's been nothing but a dedicated husband. Meanwhile, we all know that he hasn't truly invested in his wives emotionally, and that's what frustrates fans the most. In the wake of all of this, Cody's public image is in free fall. Where once he may have been seen as a leader or a man balancing multiple wives, now he's largely viewed as a manipulator and someone who can't handle the truth. The backlash he's facing from the public is intense. Fans who once saw him as the charming patriarch have slowly come to see through the facade. Cody is no longer the hero of the story. In fact, his behavior has done the opposite of what he probably intended. It's made him look smaller, more insecure, and more manipulative. This entire season has painted Cody as a man who's lost control of his marriages, his family, and his public image. His attempts to manipulate and deflect have only alienated him further from his wives and the viewers who once supported him. His arrogance and refusal to acknowledge his faults have caused a rift not only within his family, but in the eyes of the fans as well. But here's the thing. Cody's actions are more than just poor PR moves. They reveal something deeper about him. His desperate need for control, his inability to truly connect with the people around him, and his constant deflection of responsibility all point to a man who is terrified of being exposed. At the end of the day, he's the one who's losing. He may be trying to spin his version of the story, but in doing so, he's pushing away the very people who matter the most: his wives, his family, and ultimately, the viewers who have been along for the ride. Cody's behavior in the tell all is a masterclass in how not to handle public scrutiny. He's alienated the people closest to him and has lost the trust of the public, all because he can't get out of his own way. But as we all know, the truth always comes out in the end, and Cody may have just sealed his own fate with his unwillingness to face it. So, what do you think, friends? Is Cody's behavior justified, or is he just desperately trying to save face in front of the cameras? I want to know your thoughts. Drop your comments below and let's get the conversation going. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my juicy breakdowns and analysis. I've got so much more to share with you, and you definitely won't want to miss what's coming next. Thank you for being part of the TLC's Sister Wives Secret Family. Until next time.